This program is brought to you by realestate.com.au, Australia's #1 address in property. With more properties for sale than anywhere else, we make it easier.
Thanks for being with us here on Business Now. Let's see what's expected on auction markets this weekend. Realestate.com says 630 auctions are expected to go under the hammer in Sydney this week. In Melbourne, 654 auctions, 141 in Brisbane, you can see there. In Adelaide, 121. And in Canberra, 74 properties are tipped to go under the hammer. The most viewed auctions this weekend. Surprisingly, there's a few more Sydney properties than usual on the list here. The top property, we're going to come back to that in a moment. It's number 92 Newington Road in Marrickville. That price guide you can see there above $2.5 million. Now that's followed by number 57 Tennyson Street in Elwood in inner Melbourne. Another which looks like a bit of a resort in Palm Beach in Queensland is open to offers of more than $5 million. It's in Palm Beach. Then there's 67 Lawton Crescent in Kellyville on Sydney's outskirts. And finally, a property just around the corner from our studio here, 106 Cooper Street in Surrey Hills. Serious though, we've had a look. It's a knockdown, I can tell you. Now, I said we come back to that top auction for the weekend. It's a lovely terrace in Sydney's inner west. It's an Edwardian, but renovated, 4 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms. But it's clear a large number of the eyeballs watching this property are because of the owner. Now, the ABC's Annabelle Crabb is the owner, selling the property to upsize. The property last sold in 2008 for $1.125 million, so that $2.5 million price guide will leave Annabelle and her family with a decent windfall. In the meantime, all the Gawkers and ABC lovies, well, they can check out where all the lovely cakes came from that Annabelle makes, eh? What do you think about that? Finally, to the most viewed property overall on realestate.com, number 1, Broadwater Terrace in Redland Bay in Queensland. It last sold literally 1 year ago. And the owner wasted no time renovating the waterfront luxury home with views of Stradbroke Island and the Redland Bay golf course. It's got 4 bedrooms, a 5-car garage, 2 lock-up storage bays for your golf buggies, of course, a private underground speakeasy. This sounds good, doesn't it? With more than 1,000 bottles of wine as a bit of a cellar and room down there, plus a degustation room. Wonder what that is. And it's also got a large saltwater pool, a 6-person sauna, a stainless steel fish filleting station for anybody who's keen on fishing, and also a designated dog wash and pet spa. It's got everything you need, right? Let's bring in here Anne Flaherty, Economist REA Group, who joins me from Melbourne. And always good to have you on the program. One thing you observe is that there's a lot more properties coming to market now as compared with 12 months ago. What do you think's happening here?
Yeah, it's a little bit surprising. You know, winter is typically a very quiet time of year, but we've actually seen a really strong start to winter. We've seen more properties come up for sale than actually in any June over the last 10 years. So it's almost the reverse of what we were seeing last year, where we had a lot of buyers, but not so many properties for sale. Now we're seeing relatively fewer buyers, but more properties come up for sale.
All right, is this a bit of FOMO potentially? There was FOMO last year, which was the fear of missing out of people wanting to get into the market. Is actually this the fear of missing out of getting out of the market because people are concerned that as interest rates rise, that the house prices and these forecasts of 20% plus falls in prices might also impact their lifestyles into the future?
Yes, well, the media is full of all kinds of forecasts of declining property prices, and we have also started to see property prices start to head downwards. So I think that there are probably a lot of owners out there who think maybe now is the time to sell if property prices will decrease further. So, you know, it depends on an individual circumstance, but, you know, when you are tipping prices to decline, that's a sign that you're probably going to see more people sell.
But isn't it also a situation in the property market, the housing market, that when you start to get almost this ratcheting down of prices, that more properties might hit the market, but then more are passed in. As more are passed in, they've still got to clear as more properties hit the market. So there's actually a bigger stock of housing out there. And in fact, the buyers, the potential buyers, have actually got more choice then as to what they buy and what they pay for.
That's true, and it's good news for buyers because not only are there more properties being put up for sale, but with properties taking longer to sell, there's actually more stock out there to buy. So I think that this is going to add to the cooling pressures that we're already seeing emerge from higher interest rates.
All right, but then there's some parts of Australia quite clearly where you don't really get this, sort of, if you like, preponderance of properties hitting the market. The people actually hold on. And in many cases, these are suburbs where people can afford to hang on, aren't they?
Yeah, that's right. Look, every suburb is its own individual market, and some suburbs are actually extremely tightly held, which does help to protect prices in those areas. So just across the board, we know that properties in Sydney, for example, actually sell less often than they do in other states. Melbourne follows closely behind. In Tasmania, properties actually sell relatively frequently, so opportunities can arise more often.
So one other aspect of this is that quite clearly a lot of people speculated to make money out of the housing market, doing up houses or actually building new houses, whatever it might have been that they were doing, that now that these rates are rising, the economics of that don't make as much sense. So people who, if you like, were not big developers, but were sort of like part-time developers, ordinary families in many cases, these people are now having to reassess their strategy, aren't they?
Yeah, well, we're seeing a lot more caution from buyers. They're moving more slowly. And then, of course, with all the woes that the construction industry is facing, there's growing uncertainty about, how long it's going to take to build a property, whether construction might fall over halfway through. This is really playing into people's minds. And one result of that is that we've actually seen a decrease in the number of people on realestate.com actually inquiring after land.
It's going to be interesting to watch that. I'll tell you what, always, it's good to have you on the program on a Friday. And Flaherty from REA Group, you have a lovely weekend.
You too.